Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting Worm Whisperer video. We're going to talk about worm farming, specifically the art of breeding red wigglers, the champs of composting. If you enjoy or learn something from this video, please don't forget to subscribe and like to my channel. So let's dive right in. Red wigglers are versatile creatures known by various names: composting worms, manure worms, panfish worms, and more. They're small, red, and turn organic materials into compost swiftly, making them ideal for raising in a limited time span and creating mountains of worm casting compost. But before we start breeding, we need to understand the red wigglers or composting worms' life cycle. They reach maturity at about 2 to 3 months and can live for up to 5 years in a worm bin. Once they reach this age of maturity, they're ready for some Marvin Gaye action, if you know what I mean. But for successful breeding, we need more than just love. We need the perfect environment for the worms to get busy. The ideal worm habitat can house up to 1,000 adult worms per square foot. If you would like, you can ditch the plastic bins and go with a high quality compost worm bin instead. But that's completely up to you, so you can make that decision yourself. Next, prepare a cozy bedding using materials like shredded newspaper or dry cocoa coir. Keep the temperature between 60 and 80 Fahrenheit and maintain an ideal humidity of 70 to 90%. This means your bedding should be moist but not waterlogged. Remember, from past videos, a healthy vermicomposting bin should smell earthy and not be smelly. Now, let's talk about the worm diet. Red wigglers love organic matter like fruit peels and vegetable waste. A balanced diet can boost their breeding potential. Just avoid fresh cut grass clippings, as these can heat up your bin quickly and ruin all your work overnight. Patience, my worm farming friends, is key here. Worm breeding requires 2 to 4 weeks to see a substantial number of baby worms while breeding. Try to avoid any disturbances in your compost pile or worm bin to create a stress-free breeding environment for your worms. Now, let's address some bonus tips for champion worm breeding. Make sure your worm population has enough worms to lay cocoons. A larger colony size leads to more cocoon laying, as worms are both male and female. I recommend providing hiding spots with shredded paper or cardboard tubes like toilet paper tubes. Keeping your worm bins in dimly lit or dark areas, and avoid any chemicals in the bedding material and food sources. Finally, I know you all have burning questions. The short answer is yes. You can breed your own worms. Start with around 1,000 red wigglers and create a thriving ecosystem. Feed them a balance of organic materials, but avoid meat, dairy, oily foods, citrus foods, and anything overly processed like salty. If your red wigglers aren't reproducing, check their environment. They need optimal conditions and a stress-free environment for the best breeding. If your worms are not breeding, there can be a couple of different reasons for this. However, one of the main reasons could be that you have hit your population limit for your worm bin. This means that your worms are no longer reproducing because there is no more space in your worm bin for new worms. Worms can self-regulate their populations and will stop laying cocoons if they are at this limit. To get your worms to start breeding again, you will need to remove worms from the bin. The worms will then start to breed once again. How can you tell if your worms are breeding? Well, you will start once again to see baby worms and cocoons in your worm bin. You can move the worms into a new worm bin and they will start breeding again as well, and will create a whole new population in a new worm bin. And that's all it takes to breed red wigglers successfully. With our tips and tricks, you can soon have a bustling worm farm and a healthy population of baby worms for your composting or as live bait. That's it for today's guide on breeding red wigglers. Follow these steps and soon you'll be a championship worm breeder. Thanks for watching and happy worm farming, everybody, and I'll see you next time.